What is up, people? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class, Rise of the Beasts, Nightbird. And yes, I'm finally back after 2.5, 3 weeks of hiatus for reviews. I totally meant to get this review out like last week, but after being sick for 2 weeks, after I got home from Vegas, after I got home from SEMA, if you haven't seen that video, that's my last upload, so definitely go check that out. I'd really appreciate it if you did. But it feels really good to finally be back doing videos after being sick for so long and finally sort of getting back into the swing of things. Today was my first day back to the gym in about 3 weeks, so it just feels really good to finally get everything back up and running. But enough about my personal life. Let's get into the review. So here is the box for Nightbird. As we can see, we have some gorgeous artwork there of Nightbird. We also have Studio Series 104. We have the Nightbird, the Terrorcon logo as well. Transformers there as well. Generations logo. Transformers, Rise of the Beasts, obviously. We do have a more nice artwork Studio Series 104, and then we also have more nice artwork of the same thing that we've seen, and finally we have our obligatory product shots and also the display stand if you guys want to take a look. It's basically, I believe, I'm sorry if I'm going to spoil something here, but basically in my knowledge it is basically the museum scene from the first half of the movie in Rise of the Beast. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry for spoiling it, but at this point it's been a few months since the movie's come out, so I expect that most of you who have clicked on this video have already seen the movie. So sorry, not sorry, but I still am sorry because I feel bad for spoiling it. But that's enough for the box. So let's get Nightbird out here and see how she is. Alright guys, here is the Studio Series Transformers Rise of the Beasts Deluxe Class Nightbird out of the box and in her, essentially, the Nissan Skyline R33 vehicle mode. And she looks great. I do think that this is a fantastic looking recreation of the R33. Although I do think that there are a couple of minor issues with the way that it looks. I think they did a fantastic job with it. I don't believe this is licensed. If it is, I'll throw something up on screen. But to my knowledge, this is not a licensed vehicle mode. Overall, looks really, really good. So, taking a look at the details here, you guys can see that gorgeous. Oh, whoops! Focus, please. There. You guys can see the gorgeous sort of magenta terracon colored wheels that they put. It's metallic paint. Very, very nice. They're also pinned on, so she actually rolls very nicely as well. So all things considered, that's pretty good. Then taking a look more at some of the stuff, you can see all this bronze as well as this like two-tone from the gray and the bronze. Looks really, really nice. Again, it's this metallic-y paint, and I think it looks really, really nice. Again, the focus, man. There we go. But yeah, you see this bronze metallic-y paint looks really, really nice. Again, more of the magenta for that. And then even here, you guys can, I don't know if you can see that, but there is a magenta, dark purple Terracon logo that's painted in the grill where the GTR logo would be on the actual car. And I think that that's a really nice touch. They had no reason to need to do that because of how small it was, but the fact that they did it speaks a lot of bounds. The other thing it's going to be hard to tell on camera, especially with my crap lighting right now, is when it comes to this vehicle mode, this gray, a lot of these panels are different colored gray. I don't know how well that'll come across. Maybe in the light. Yeah, you can see this dark gray and these grays do not match at all. They don't. Especially in hand you notice it. But from a distance, if you guys notice, it's actually pretty good. From a distance, you don't really notice it. From, when you're handling the figure and up close, it does, make a difference to a certain extent. But honestly, it doesn't bother me all that much. Then going around here, you can see the nice transparent windshield here as well. Very nice detail here for the back window, or, well, the lack of. And then the nice rear bumper as well as the spoiler also looks really nice. Overall, a very nice recreation of the R33 car that we all know and love. For those of you who don't know, I will throw a picture of that car on screen right now. The only issue I personally have with this vehicle mode is primarily the rear bumper section, because to my knowledge, I don't recall the bumper being this tiny. And if you can see, this is where like the rear of the fender comes out, and then this is where the bumper is. So you can see that it should be, in my opinion, a tad bit longer. And the taillights also, I think, could be a bit bigger overall, but at the end of the day, still a very nice recreation, especially if this isn't a licensed vehicle mode. And in addition to that, the last thing I'll show is her accessory storage. So you can store her one sword that she comes with there on the bottom of the car, right there. You can see it right here, and then I can just easily remove it, like so. Oops, fell on the floor, but as you can see, here's her sword. It does look very nice for the most part. Just the unfortunate bit when it comes to this sword is that it's not super well painted. Like the details in there, you can sort of see in the light there and the reflections, all of the sort of segmented details there in the sword. It's two different plastics. It's this black plastic and this darker gray to match her. The only issue is she comes with only one, and I don't really get why it's just one. Because, like, she came with two in the movie. I know she used two, and on the artwork, it also shows, you can see I have the box still. It shows she has two, so I don't know why she only comes with one. And plus, if you look on the bottom of the car, the way to store it is essentially what you notice right here. You see those two, there's two slots on either side. And then on the sword, you can see that this little peg, the idea is you just slot it in like so, and that's it. And it would make mufflers, like it would make like sort of like faux mufflers, but for some reason they didn't give her two, and that's a bit disappointing. But overall, still a very, damn, the sword fell out. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain to get in there, but overall it's still a really nice vehicle mode, and I can't deny that it looks really, really cool, and I think they did a fantastic job with it. And so for some comparisons, we are going to keep Nightbird here. All right, here she is with the Deluxe Class Rise of the Beasts Studio Series Bumblebee, as well as the Core Class Studio Series RC from Rise of the Beasts. And I think she scales very nicely. Bumblebee should obviously be a bit taller and sort of bigger because it's a lifted, essentially like off-road style, rally style Camaro, and then we obviously have the bike that RC is supposed to be, the Ducati, I believe. It's not licensed, but it still looks really good. The unfortunate bit, obviously, she's not going to really scale all that well in terms of vehicle mode. She should be like yay big, like very much smaller. But as you can see, I'll just put RC off to the side and she falls over. But yeah, you can see she's actually significantly smaller in vehicle mode than Bumblebee is. You can see here, you can even see it right here, the length difference, and also again there's the sword. We'll just put that off to the side. You can also see again the difference there as well. So there is a pretty significant size difference between these two, but overall it still is really nice, and I'm really happy that you're able to, if RC will stand up like RC. Well, you guys get the idea. I apologize. RC will not want to stand up. But comparisons with RC as well as Bumblebee. And here she is with her Terrorcon brethren in Battletrap as well as Scourge. And as you can see, the reason I actually put her off to the side is because she'll kind of get lost in the mix if I put her in the center. You guys can see if I put her in the center, she kind of gets a bit lost. Well, I guess on camera it's a little easier to fake that. But yeah, you can see she kind of is really, really tiny in comparison. Now, granted, Voyager as well as Leader, but at the same time, she's really tiny. Like you guys can see, here is a comparison with Battletrap. There's just a huge size difference. You can just see how much bigger Battletrap is compared to her. And then obviously you'll see the massive size difference compared to Scourge. I mean, just look at that. I mean, you can see that's such a big size difference between the two of them. Like it's kind of unreal how big how big Scourge is in comparison to her. But again, Leader class, Deluxe class, as well as Voyager class. So at the end of the day, it makes sense, the size difference, but damn, she's even a little bit small for a Deluxe. But nice comparisons there, and I think it really works out. Alright guys, now time to get into the transformation, and it's honestly not really all that bad. I actually don't think that this is really a bad transformation at all. In a couple of reviews, that is where there's going to be, in my opinion, a really rough transformation, and you guys know exactly which of the Studio Series Deluxe Rise of the Beasts characters I'm talking about. So, when it comes to transformation, first thing I like to do, you can take these fenders, essentially, here, and what you're going to do is just fold them out, like so. And then you can do the same on the other side. So just grab from the bottom, and then you can just sort of push the fenders as well as these fronts of the doors out like so. And then what you can do from here is take this entire section and you can bend it, and then you take these sections here and fold them up as well. Actually, well, take the wings, fold them, then rotate. This gives you a little more clearance, and then you'll just essentially have this. Then from here you can take this entire top section. So from the front, you're going to want to push up the front of the middle of the bumper there, and then you're just going to want to lift this entire thing up, and then you can rotate it all the way around. And then take this little bumper section here on the back, and then you just fold it in. Then from here, what you're going to do after this is essentially rotate and accordion the legs down like so. So you'll just grab these here, this part, and essentially it's tabbed in. So like on the other side, just untab it, and then you'll just accordion it down. Remember, keep this folded like so, and then you'll essentially have something like this. You can then take these sections here, and then you can just fold them out, and then you can rotate the entire chest down. Now, this part here, you just essentially take the chest and just push it in as best you can. And essentially, there'll be tabs that'll lock into place there. Then for the legs here, what you can do is rotate these down, rotate this entire part around, same here, like that, and then what you'll do is you'll just fold these toes out, both on each side, to give her some stability, and then you can adjust these side skirts however you'd like when you get her fully transformed. Now for this backpack, this is where it gets a little weird. So essentially what you'll notice is right here, if I'll focus, there are two slots here, and then essentially what you'll notice here on the clear is that there's a tab there and a tab there, and you essentially just got to slot this in. And now this backpack can get a bit finicky. So what you'll notice here is you see that there's this tab right here, and essentially what you're going to do is this entire section is also on a hinge, so you can hinge this part independently of this entire bit on its own. So you want to hinge that down as much as you can. And then what you'll do is you'll take the back bumper section and you'll rotate, and you'll notice that essentially there is a peg slot right there. And what you're going to do, or excuse me, right here, not this hole, this hole right here. And you'll essentially just fold this up, and then this will fit right into that slot. It doesn't exactly tab in the best. I've never had it tab in the best. But at the end of the day, it rests in there, and then you can adjust her little wings however you'd like, and then, yeah, that'll happen. But if you haven't, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to mention you have to push the whole top half of the body down to actually get it to tap in. Sorry, the light. There we go, the focus. Okay, and then finally, last thing you gotta do this. Take the shoulder bits, fold those out, rotate this around. Again, same thing on the other side, like this. Essentially, you just gotta straighten her out a bit. And make sure the chest is all in order, but for the most part, that's the best, I think. There we go. Just gotta push that in, make sure it snaps into place. Then straighten her out a bit. She'll stand. There we go. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we have the Transformers Deluxe Class Studio Series Nightbird in her robot mode. And guys, I gotta say, I do think that she looks very, very nice. I think she looks relatively well, given everything that the designers had to work with. Now, if you guys don't, I believe you can follow the designers of the figures on Instagram, which is really, really cool, and on social media in general. And I believe Sam was talking about this because the YouTuber That Toy Guy, who is a great reviewer, I definitely recommend checking out his channel, link in the description. He was mentioning how he would talk to one of the designers, Sam, about, like, specifically Studio Series Mirage. And one of the things that I noticed with Nightbird here that is also present with Mirage is one glaring issue is the design of the character versus the actual CGI render and what they can do with CGI. So before we get into like that discussion of why that matters, let's take a look at the figure herself. So I do think she looks really good. The head sculpt I think is gorgeous. You guys can see that beautiful translucent, and then if you can see right there, they actually painted her eyes red. The silver for the face. She looks like a hooded ninja. That's like her idea. The chest detail also looks nice, although it is a bit broad. It's definitely much more streamlined in the movie. And then you can see very nice details all the way around. I do think that she looks very nice in the like the crotch piece, for example. All of these details look really nice, but there's only so much detail you can have for a character, especially in the legs with the skinniest legs that she has. And I also wish there was a better way to fold these to make them a bit more streamlined with her. But the wings also look very nice, again painted in that like metallic magenta, and you can swing around here in the back. And this is where obviously, this is the issue that a lot of people have with this figure is the backpack, and I personally understand. I really get it, and I'm personally also one of those people that does have an annoyance with the backpack. But like I said earlier, getting back to that discussion, the reason that I mentioned that toy guy talked to one of the designers, Sam, about Mirage is because I think Nightbird also suffers from this, is that when it comes to CGI, you can take a rigid vehicle mode and you can do anything with it to transform it into a robot, right? The limit is literally your imagination. It's computer generated. It's up to you how you want things to fit, how you want her to look, how you want any given character to look. And obviously, even given a rigid vehicle mode, they were able to make a very streamlined, a very ninja-esque, very slender character out of Nightbird. But when you're trying to get it to work as an actual in real life toy, especially at the deluxe price point, which is one of the lower price points, especially for the main three size classes, right? We have Deluxe, Voyager, Leader as the main three. Obviously, you still have Core and some other ones, but these are the three main ones that have the figures that are made the most of, right? They make mostly Deluxe, Voyager, and Leader class figures. And so when you're trying to translate that, it's difficult. And in my opinion, given the resources that they had and the budget that they had, I think that they did a really good job, because I believe that they started designing these figures 18 months in advance in prior to the release of the movie. And so obviously there's not going to be massive design changes more or often than not in cases like this, but we do have design changes for her. And of course they weren't maybe necessarily able to tack those on. Like, I believe in an interview, I believe that those wings that she has were a last minute addition. And obviously it looks very last minute here, because obviously it still fits in the vehicle mode, but you guys can see how that these feel just kind of tacked on there just for, just because. These wings are actually meant to be probably longer, probably like yay big. I'd say something like that, if I'll get the camera to focus. If they were a bit longer like this, they are meant to be a bit longer in that sense, and that's a bit of a shame that obviously it was a last minute decision, but they have to work with what they got. And again, I think they did a really good job given everything. Again, my issues mainly, chest is a bit broader than it should be. She doesn't like to stand the best sometimes, even though she does have pretty good stability given how skinny her feet are. Also, I wish these panels, you could fold them down on her side skirts a bit easier. And again, the backpack is a nightmare. I wish you could fold this section, like this one, up one more, but maybe that would have caused issues. I don't know. I just wish it looks like it's a big, what, big private part right there. And I know she's not obviously a guy, she's a female. It's her, and it's Nightbird, but still, it doesn't look right, man. It just looks really awkward with that hanging down there. But overall, still really nice. And then you can take her sword, and then it easily slots into her hand here. So you can give her that. If you do have the regular mainline deluxe, you can obviously give her the other sword. I believe the DNA design, they're making upgrade kits for Scourge now, as of right now, because I'm recording this on November 28th. So they are making, and they revealed a design kit or an upgrade kit for Scourge, which also, they revealed another upgrade kit, which also includes another sword for Nightbird. It includes two swords. So I will eventually probably leave links to those in the description. You guys can pre-order those in Big Bad Toy Store. So really nice stuff. Again, I do think that she is really nice given, again, everything that they had to work with. So what are you going to do? So for comparison, finally getting into those, we're going to set her off to the back here. Here she is with Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class Bumblebee as well as Core Class RC from Rise of the Beasts. As you can see, she scales pretty well with them. She's obviously supposed to be a Bumblebee size character as they have very similar vehicle modes in terms of size. So overall, this works really well. I also know it's a bit out of the blue, but here she is with the Transformers Studios series Rise of the Beasts leader class Optimus Primal. As you can see, she scales very well with Primal. Again, this is about how they should scale most likely, or relatively, not most likely, relatively. And then finally, here you can see her with her, again, Terrorcon brethren. Here she is with both Battletrap as well as Scourge. These guys look great together. This is the team. This is like the team for the Terrorcons in the movie. And so it's really nice to finally have all three of these guys in hand together as a group because they do look absolutely fantastic as a group, and I'm very happy to finally have them together. All right, beyond that, let's take a look at her articulation. And this is where a little bit of stuff suffers because there's so much junk. But again, they did the best they could. So for her head, it is on the ball joint, I believe, but you don't get really much side to side at all, really. You do get not really a full 360 because the hood bumps in, but you can look left to right. You do get a full 360 at the shoulder, and then you do get a little more than 90 degrees. If I were to bend that a little too hard. We got that go. That's better. But you do get a little more than 90 degrees at the elbow, which is really, really nice. No wrist articulation or anything like that. You do get no waist articulation either, which really blows, but the legs do kick forward pretty far. They do kick back a fair bit as well. And then you do get a knee bend, upper rotation. Obviously, you can do full 360. And then you do get the toe bend, but you do get some ankle articulation. She can't do like the full splits because again there's so much junk here, but she can do some pretty solid splits in terms of that. So overall, still really solid for her. It's just again all of this junk just likes to bump into everything, and so kind of blows. But again, overall, what are you gonna do? They again, I think the designers essentially did the best they could given the resources and the budget that they had to actually make her as accurate to the movie as possible. So overall, still really, really nice. Just again, some of it suffers because of that. There are issues with this figure, but I actually just do kind of really like her all around. Like it's not. I don't think that she doesn't have her issues. I actually just kind of like this figure overall, and yeah, that's just personal preference. Alright guys, and the last thing we're going to do is get into the reverse transformation because I always feel that adding the reverse transformation is a good thing. So first things first, obviously we want to remove the sword from her hand, and then what you can do, you can take these shoulder bits and fold them down and just get the arms off to the sides like this, and then you can also take the head and rotate it straight. Then take the chest part and then just pull those out to the side. Take the legs and then you can rotate them around, and then you can fold the toes in, and then you can just go ahead and fold up the side panels of the rear fenders as well. And then what you can do, take this section and then you can just essentially rotate it all the way around, fold up this bit here, and then you can take this section, fold it around, and then essentially fold these like this, and just keep it up like this. And then you remember how I told you it was folded on that one hinge? You can just fold it up and straighten it out like so. From here, take this entire section and then you can just accordion it like this, and then accordion this, fold this down, and you basically have that part of the car finished already. Then you can take the arm sections, and what I like to do is take them and rotate them in, but just keep them like sort of like this for now, where they're sort of sticking out like this, just so you have clearance for the back here. Now, the hardest part, in my opinion, about the transformation is getting these legs to accordion correctly, so I just kind of like to make sure, like making sure everything is straight, and then you can just sort of push it all up, and essentially what you'll notice is this tab right here will slot into this groove here, so just do that and you got it. And honestly, it's really not too bad. And then just sort of push it into there and push it under the windscreen there. Do the same thing here. You can just sort of try your best to accordion this section of the, yeah, this is where sometimes it gets a little finicky. Not the easiest to do sometimes, because this doesn't like to, there we go. And then, oh, it's almost there. There you go, slot into place. Then you can just sort of slot this in. And then next thing I like to do, so if you fold these panels outright, they won't clear. So what you got to do is first off actually put the arms up. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. But what you want to do is make sure that the hinge, that the door is like this, that it's like this and not like this. You can see the comparison there. Make sure it's like this and not like this, where like the hinge is behind the door. So what you do is you can then get the clearance to actually fold this in and snap into place, and do the same here, where you just sort of accordion it so that they're flush with one another, and then you get the clearance to finally fold it in, like so. Just, ooh, whoops. There we go. Fold that in, and then take this entire section. All you got to do is fold it. Make sure that this part essentially just slots underneath here. So just fold this down, snap this all into place. Shouldn't be too bad. There, get it to snap in. And then what you, ooh, oops, my bad. I thought you filled it. I forgot you can fold it like this. Fold it like this, and all you got to do is just push this in, reslot that in. Then obviously you can take the sword, and you can plug that up right there onto either side, whichever you prefer. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have Nightbird back in her vehicle mode. Alright guys, so for my final and concluding thoughts on the Transformers Deluxe Class Rise of the Beast Studio Series Terrorcon Nightbird, as the final Terrorcon in the trio that we have, I think she's pretty solid. I don't think that she is without her issues. Obviously, I do think that she still has her issues, but for the most part, I do think that she is a pretty solid figure. Again, it's another case of trying to get a streamlined, slender robot design to work with a rigid vehicle mode is never ever the case. We've seen this with RC for years as a character. We've seen this with other female robots as a whole, fembots and femcons, right? Like the female Decepticons. We've seen that as a whole throughout the years. It's just really hard to do that and to really get that slender, sleek body out of a very rigid vehicle mode. But overall, still think that she's pretty good. Again, not without her issues. I think that her side skirts are a little bit too thick. Her backpack is obviously a big issue. I also think that the wings are not proportioned correctly. Obviously, as a last minute addition, what are you going to do about that? So overall, if I have to give this figure an out of 10, I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think that it is better than average, but I don't think it is nearly as good as any of the other figures that we've gotten over the past, couple years or years. So especially when it comes to the Studio Series stuff for Rise of the Beasts, obviously like this guy, like you can see Battle Trap here. This guy I think is better than her. I think Scourge is better than her. I think Primal is probably one of the best, if not the best, out of all the Studio Series Rise of the Beast stuff. Overall, still really solid. I do recommend picking her up. She should be hitting local retailers. She definitely hit my local retailer, which is actually very surprising, but she's hitting local retailers right now. If you want to go the online route, you obviously have places like Amazon and Big Bad Toy Store. I will leave links in the description to those. I bought mine on Big Bad Toy Store. And in addition to that, when it comes to Big Bad Toy Store, they are also doing, like I mentioned, the DNA design stuff. So if you have a Scourge, if you have a Nightbird, if you have a Battle Trap, and you want some extra accessories or for them to look a little more screen accurate, specifically Scourge, I will leave links to those pre-orders for Big Bad Toy Store in the description below, and you guys can go and take a look at those and see if that's anything you want to add to your collection. But with that, guys, that is about it. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me in the socials linked in the description below. And with that, guys, I'll leave you all to the photo montage, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace.